Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast. Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.
20 minutes before the news at 8 a.m. is our time right here on Kapi Talk. 100.4 FM Harare's Heartbeat. We get to discuss the world of business. Good morning, Kudzie. What do you say?
Good morning, Tinashe. Good morning, everyone.
You got to say weekend.
Weekend, I'm going to get posted.
Great. So, Kudzie, I've been following up a lot of things happening around the world, watching on social platforms, on television as well. How has the dollar reacted to the reported Donald Trump assassination attempt?
Thank you, Tinashe. So I think the dollar has the reaction that I've seen so far this morning. Maybe if we can just look at the exchange rates as of this morning, it shows that the dollar is strengthening against all major currencies except with the Zambian Kwacha. Not a major currency, but it's one currency that we watch here on Business Focus because we do trade with Zambia. That's where I'm seeing a weakening of the dollar there. But against the euro, $1 gets you 0.91 this morning. It will get you 0.77 British pound. It will get you 17.98 South African rand and 7.26 British pound. But what I'm seeing is that Trump is that guy who says America first. Mm-hmm. And when you say America first, it means that you're putting the American economy first, and it also then strengthens the dollar. So from the comments that I was seeing, even from the likes of Elon Musk, they are now endorsing his presidency following the reported attempted assassination of Donald Trump. So a lot of people are now seeing a Trump presidency, and then we know the policies that he had in his first term, where he had this America First, where he had trade wars with China. So the dollar seems to be reacting positively to that news. So that's how the dollar has reacted. Others look at it as a safe haven, saying that investors will move away from other riskier assets and moving into the US dollar. And this is what we are seeing, the dollar strengthening against all these other major currencies. But I think the biggest factor there is that most analysts and are seeing a Trump presidency going forward. If you look even at the when he got shot, he was talking about the level of immigration into the US, something that he is also against, especially from Mexico. When he was missed by that bullet, apparently he had turned to describe what was on the big screen, which was showing the numbers of immigration from the likes of Mexico. And you remember when in his first term he wanted to build a wall or something like that. So these are the things that now people are now seeing. People also sympathize with following this incident. There's a high chance that people will sympathize with Trump to say, but guys, why did they want to kill him or whatever? And they will sympathize with he's now like an underdog in a way. So yeah, that's how I see things in the US. So
Kudzie, you spoke about after this assassination attempt in the US, the dollar is strengthening. Chibaba chedu chakamira papi in the mix. Zig.
So you see, Zig tracks what happens with gold. And this morning I also saw gold actually strengthening against this morning. Gold is also seen as a safe haven by investors, and this morning I saw gold was also strengthening. And when I walked into the studio, it had just gained by 0.1%, and it was trading at $2,413.42 per ounce. That's the price of gold at the moment. It had come off in the last couple of days, but following this incident, it seems like gold is starting to recover again. Because when I was tracking this, the price of gold this morning, it started, I think it was up by 0.07, but by the time I got into the studio, it was now up by 0.1. So the ZiG tracks the dollar. At the moment, ZiG is trading at about 13.76 against the US dollar, 13.76 against the US dollar. It's weaker than when it started. Remember, it started at 13.56. Now it had gone to 13.576 because the dollar, because the gold was weakening from its recent highs. So our ZIG tracks mostly the dollar.
So there's a question on WhatsApp from maybe a question, a comment at the same time from Arthur. Arthur says that Treasury should come up with fiscal policies to support ZIG in the upcoming mid-term fiscal policy over and above the requirement for companies to pay a certain threshold of corporate tax in ZIG, such as making tourists to pay for their services in ZIG, is what Tanzania is proposing to do. Rentals should also be allowed to be paid in ZIG. This will create demand for ZIG and therefore stabilize it. No tenant should be victimized for opting to pay rentals in ZIG. Arthur's comment on WhatsApp. What's your take?
100% in agreement with Arthur. We need to create what are known as use cases for the ZIG. Because for as long as we give it as an option to say, no, you can either pay in US dollars or in ZIG, it means that those who hold US dollars have no motive or incentive to pay in ZIG or to sell their US dollars. Because if I can buy bread using a US dollar, there's no point for me to go and change it into ZIG first and then buy the US dollar. But if I'm compelled to do so, then I'll be forced to sell my ZIG and put it onto the market. But however, before you make it compulsory for people to use the Zimbabwe gold, to use ZIG, you have to have an efficient market. Or for example, if I earn US dollars today and I sell that US dollar into the market, when I also want the US dollar, for whatever reason, I should be able to convert my ZIG into US dollars without any challenge. So the issue here is about convertibility. They must have an efficient market. The one that is there at the moment is not as efficient as people would want. And also, even if it was efficient as we speak, the willing buyer, willing seller, even if it was efficient, but the fact that there are not many use cases for ZIG, in most places, you are still given an option to pay either in US dollars. Why would you want to go through the bank and my transactions they convert your US dollar into ZIG? You know, there are charges that are involved. There is paperwork that needs to be done. And why go through that hassle? So you might as well pay in US dollars. So what is needed is for what he suggested there. Arthur suggested there to say, let's have use cases for the ZIG, to say if you want to pay for electricity, if you want to pay for this particular, for a passport, if you want to pay for fuel, if you want to pay for government services, rent, pay in ZIG, not even as an option. So maybe that's why government is not talking about the issuing or moving towards a monocurrency. It started with the president. President Mnangagwa spoke about it to say in 2 years' time, I might say, let's start using a monocurrency, only ZIG. And I saw a column or an article that was written by the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Information and Publicity and Broadcasting and Publicity, Nick Mangwana. He was also talking about moving to the use of the Zimbabwe gold, the local currency, because I don't think you can have this strong US dollar working side by side with the Zimbabwe gold. The Zimbabwe gold has no chance. It's an inferior product versus the US dollar.
Unoona zvimwe zvinoitika kudzi even patinototenderera uchida kutenga zvinhu unobvunza munhu where we are lacking confidence in our own ZIG. Pokuti unobvunza munhu drink rinoita mari anokuti 50 cents. Why let it be on everyone's mouth? Donate mari 7 ZIG.
7 ZIG. Yes, that's where we want. But it's from the scars of the past. It's from the scars of the past. But I think the monetary authorities, that's why they've adopted this stringent monetary policy, a tight monetary policy, where they want to make sure that we get rid of the mindset that we had to say there is something called currency depreciation, which depreciates every day, if not every hour. There is something called inflation, where prices go up every hour, every day. Once we have this stability, I think that's when people start to say, I know it's so much ZIG. Like what we see in some retail outlets. They've, as much as their prices are not friendly, user-friendly, but they are all in They're all in ZIG. I know Pick and Pay, most of their prices are in ZIG, unless they changed in the last few days, but they were in ZIG, right? So if we start putting prices in ZIG, everything priced in ZIG, then I think we will start to see that mindset changing, where people are saying the US dollar, the US dollar. Yeah.
So, Kudzie, when we look at with all this, how is the gold doing as a commodity on the international market?
Yeah, gold. Like I said earlier on, it's showing some recovery. It had gone down, but as of this morning, it has actually done well. The price of gold is at for 2,400. But then when you look at the gold coin, there are people who bought gold coins when they were at 1,823. That was the price of gold. 1,000 gold coins, rather.
Gold coins, yeah.
1,823. As of this morning, the price of those gold coins is at $2,529.66, which means that there is a 39% gain since the coins were launched. They've since gained by about 39%, which is a massive return. One, you've got a stable asset that does not lose value often or easily. And then you have these capital gains that you have made from 1,823 to 2,529. I also wanted to highlight something, Tinashe, when it comes to the use of the US dollar. I know a lot of Zimbabweans, they love their US dollar. They believe that things are working when they're using the US dollar. Others are even saying that let's just forget about the Zimbabwean dollar and start using the US dollar. The challenge with the US dollar also, one of the challenges that is there, is that it's not our currency. Hence, we are not able to oil our economy. We can only use what is there. If we export and earn some US dollars, if our relatives out there send some US dollars, those are the only channels that you can earn some dollars. Unlike the United States can actually print US dollars to oil their economy. If they see that there is if they want to use an expansionary monetary policy, they will print some US dollars or create money into their environment. Isusu, if they want to tighten their monetary policy, they can put up interest rates and tighten their monetary policy. But once we use the US dollar, we cannot, US dollar only, we cannot then create money. Which because every economy there should be some you should be able to create some money. Inoenderana neproduction inenge iripo. Hamuzonyanya kuprinta semaprintira aita gona, but you have to print to a certain level so that you oil economy. That's why you find out that during the GNU, when we were using the US dollar, what we had was some bit of recovery, but we did not record that much growth in terms of job creation and the like, because we're using a currency that is limited. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one.
All right, George Mishi from Marlborough is saying that if I sell my gold coins after capital gains tax, what is my percentage take home?
I will have to do the math. I'm not sure what's the capital gains tax on gold coins at the moment. I'm not sure. I will have to find out what's the capital gains tax is on gold coins.
All right, George, we'll get a response hopefully tomorrow. 7 minutes before 8 is our time. Let's look at the performance of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange as it closed on Friday.
Yeah, the ZSE continues to record what we could actually say that it is on a bull run. The bulls are still rampaging, although you can see some pockets of profit taking. But as of Friday, the all-share index was up by 3.5%. The top 10 index also putting on 3.51%. The top 10 index adding 3.82%. Even the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange was positive for a change on Friday, up by 0.5%. Top risers on the ZSE, CBZ continues to record very good gains. They're up by 15%. It's the counter in favor. It is the best performer so far in the year or since the introduction of ZIG. CBZ is your top company there, up by 218%. It's almost neck to neck with AFTIS, which is also up by 218.31%. So zvakaita kudhonzerana, that's CBZ and AFTIS. But as of Friday, CBZ was the top riser. In fact, it was neck on neck with Tanganda, which also put on 15%. Dairyboard continues to do good, up by 14.99%. Probably that's a vote of confidence there for what they're doing there. TSO also putting on 14.99%. NMB adding 14.95%. And then on the downside, we had Machinery and Holdings losing 7.41%, EcoCash easing 4.17%, ZB Financial Holdings losing 2.64%, and then GB and OK Zimbabwe also closing in the negative territory. Most investors were putting on their funds into Delta. Wow, somebody cashed out of Delta there. Remember, Delta has been doing well as a counter, and it's almost trading at about 80 cents, which is a really good price there, and it seems a major shareholder cashed out on that one with about 18.7 million ZiG worth of shares changing hands in Delta. And then OK Zimbabwe, NMB and Econet getting also a sizable chunk of the funds that were invested there. But wow, that transaction in Delta there, I think it's one of the, if not the biggest transaction that you have seen in Delta in recent times.
So this one, there's another question as well that says, Kudzie, why didn't we join the Rand Monetary Union when we moved from the bond?
So in, was it in 2019, I was privileged to be one of the 3 people that interviewed President Mnangagwa on radio. I think that was his only and first radio interview here on Capital FM, and that was one question that we posed to him to say, why didn't we join the Rand Union? And he said he was part of the team that was assigned by former president, the late Robert Mugabe, to go to South Africa to negotiate so that we can also start using the Rand. And he says the conditions that were put for us to be part of that were just too much for us. They were onerous, and we were not able to follow through with those. That interview is still on YouTube, on Capital FM page. That interview that we had with President Mnangagwa on radio, it was also recorded live. So you can go and watch that interview. He gave an explanation in terms of why we were not part of that Rand Union. And they actually went there to negotiate. But yeah, the conditions were tough. And reasonably so, although some would then argue to say, okay, we don't even need to be part of that. We can just start using the Rand, like what is happening in the Matabeleland region. They
use more Rand.
They move your Rand, more Rand than the US. Than the US dollar, and it's working quite well for them. US they'll struggle to give you change. My US that side of our country because of their proximity to South Africa, maybe. But yeah, so.
But given the situation, if the conditions were favorable, do you think it's a good move to take?
I mean, the best move for us is to have our own currency, to be honest, Tinashe. Yes, we have struggled to have it in place. Yes, but it's also about it's about discipline. We have just failed to discipline ourselves, and some of the things are now being corrected. For example, the Reserve Bank will just go out there. They will look at the situation in our monetary systems, and they'll say, no, there's need for us to go to the Afrexim Bank or wherever. Let's go and borrow money from there, and they'll go and borrow money and create a wall. So we had a situation where Treasury would say, no, we want to work with a tight budget deficit of just 1.5%, but at the same time the Reserve Bank will go and borrow and create a big hole, which then will then be assumed by this by Treasury. At the end of the day, you are defeating the whole purpose of having a tight budget, of reducing your budget deficit, because at the end of the day, your other arm, which is the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, will just go out there and borrow billions of dollars, which will then be transferred to Treasury, and we have to pay those debts again. So I think we need our own currency, but what we lack is discipline to use what we earn, but we then go above board, go above our budgets, and we start spending money that we don't have, and we end up creating money. Do you know, as a country, we even failed to run a US dollar economy. The GNU, during the GNU, we had the US dollar, and then post the GNU, we still had the US dollar, but it was not oiling the economy as much as what was needed. And the government, through the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, started creating their own US dollars into the system, and that's how it collapsed. Dollarization collapsed, and we had to start thinking about farmers tobacco akaenda ku auction vatengesa tobacco kutanga kushaya mari. That's when pakazocreate kwama bond notes, so that they can find something chavanono withdraw. Create kwama bond notes. It was because my US dollar anga ari system anga mashoma zvakanyanya versus mari yange create kwa anga ari system.
Okay. Right, Kudzi would have wanted to continue the discussion, but time is up now. But we appreciate for the knowledge for today. Thank you so much. We hear from you tomorrow.